All right, good afternoon, traders. Today is May 29th, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I am the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. Thank you for hanging out with us today. Today was a very good day for me. Had nice profits today. Did not want that. Let's bring that back up. Okay, so what did I do for today? All right, so here's this. All right, so this right here, these 610 calls, yeah, that number's right. Okay, those were holdovers from last night, and price gapped up, and because it gapped up that much, that's how much was made. So those are those 8 days till expiration 610 calls. Now, if you look back here, you'll see at the beginning of the day, I closed them out first thing this morning. Right here, 610 calls. That's all I did to trade those. And then I repurchased them later in the day at a cheaper price. So that's me repurchasing them later in the day after price pulled down. I repurchased those for a later date. Okay, so those 8 DTE calls. We traded puts today, right? Started off with some puts that I gave an alert to. See if I can drag this up here. Forgot to put the word put in there. Okay, so let's see what happens here. Okay, so you can see up here, bought 590 strike, 1 DTE, pre-market, red erases green. Of course, okay, so you know when I'm putting red erases green, that means I want puts, all right? Because I don't ever buy calls when I do red erases green. I buy calls when green erases red. So I made that, and that was at 939, all right? And then I went down a little earlier, and I drew out a possible consolidation pattern and shared that with the traders in the room. This is what I believe is going to happen. Price going to move up like it did here, pull back 576, 580 area. Then it came back up here last night, even went above it, went all the way over to 598 in the pre-market overnight session. All right, and then now I believe this is the consolidation. The yellow line is what has already happened. Okay, and I believe the next line is the blue line, which probably takes us back down to this 575, 580 area. It may even go below it. They might even fill gap. They might partial fill gap and then bounce out of there. And then head back on up here. Okay, so every time, somebody in the administration does a little tweet, makes a little announcement, you can see price goes up and then price comes down. Price goes up, price comes down. Okay, so we're waiting. All right, we're waiting. A market does not like uncertainty, and we don't have certainty yet. Okay, but we're waiting for all of this to finish out. All right, are we going to have tariffs or are we not going to have tariffs? Okay, it's one or the other. Just make a decision. Let's get it done. Let's just do it. All right. For right now, I think the market's just going to consolidate, and I think after we're done with this consolidation pattern right here, we wind up jumping up here, all right, and we do the same thing. That's what I believe. We jump up here and we do the same consolidation pattern and chew off some more time while we're waiting for the tariffs to finalize and we get what we want, or we get certainty. Okay, it might not be what we want, but at least it will be certainty. All right, which is what the market's waiting for. Okay, we're waiting for certainty. Okay, and that's what we don't have right now. They're either on or they're off. You don't know. Okay, so this is the consolidation pattern that I believe is just a theory that I believe will probably play out. We'll see what happens. All right, so take that out. That's it. I bought puts, and then later in the day when the puts got cheaper, I bought some 0 DTEs. All right, and I traded those. So here are my 0 DTEs. Made about 43K there. Okay. Traded some 590 puts, 1 DTE, made about 3K there. Okay, closed out some calls. Okay, these are those 15 DTE calls. Well, when price gapped up this morning, well, I sold those as well. You can see right here. So price gapped up, those came into the money. So I said, I'm just going to strip my profit on both of these. So I had 15 DTE calls, 620 strike. All right, and then you can see I had 625 strike, 22 DTE, and I just stripped the profit out of those. And then first thing, I started buying puts. These are the 590 puts that I bought first thing in the morning, all right, when I saw that first red candle. So you want to know where I entered and why I entered, because that's more important than how well I did, okay? Because the important part is for you guys to make money, okay? Because I'm not a success unless you're a success, all right? That's the bottom line, and I truly believe that. And I appreciate everybody out there that's a subscriber, that's a member. I mean, anybody that follows my content, I'd be happy to help you out. So here's the first thing. Let's take the pre-market. Okay, here's our pre-market. Let's stretch it out. Okay. Okay, so here's the pre-market. And first thing we had was green erases red. Excuse me. Red erases green. Let me trash that off. So let's go ahead and get the green box out there first. Okay. So green goes from this low up to this high. That's our green box. Pretty simple, right? From this low up to this high. All right. Then we have our red box. First red candle bangs out all these candles right through here. One fail swoop, they wipe out all the green box in one 5-minute, actually 1 3-minute candle right there. And then I said, I'm buying puts. And I started buying puts at 9:36. I just wanted to see the first 5-minute candle close. So at 9:36, you can see right here. I'll drag it back over. Okay, 9:36. I started buying puts when I saw that big red candle. Okay, so let me open this back up. You can see right here, 9:36. Started buying the 590 puts. And then I was taking profit into the dips. So as price dipped, the value of the put goes up. All right, so I bought low, 228, 226, and sold high, 262, 255, 260. You see? Right there. Okay, so that's what I did. That's how I made money today. Okay, buying and selling puts. All right, we had a 10-minute downtrend under VWAP. Let's take the box off of there. Okay, put on the 10-minute chart. Let's stretch it out. Here's VWAP. See the gold, the brown line, the burnt brown line? Got a 10-minute downtrend. See the 3 EMA is underneath the white 8 EMA. So we have a 10-minute downtrend, all right, into the open. Actually, like right here. We actually had one into the close, but you can see into the open. 10-minute downtrend, all right? And then you can see here was the green box that goes right here. And one candle wiped it out. And the 10-minute downtrend continued all the way down into 586 right there, which was gap fill for the previous day. Or, yeah, no, that was gap fill. We gapped up and, and the bears filled the gap. All right? So that's what we captured for today. All right, and you can see price kind of held underneath this ever since. So we had 10-minute downtrend. Every time price came back to VWAP. Sorry. All right. Just bought some more puts. That's it. All right. And then traded it into the dips. Took profits into the dips. That's it. So that's how I made all those profits today. Not a bad day. Okay. So there's SPY. Let's look at SPY on the 10-minute chart. Okay. So they're showing us 10-minute uptrend into the close. All right, so I'll be looking for continuation of that 10-minute uptrend into the close. I really don't think so. I think they may gap down tomorrow. I'm looking at a downtrend line right through here. All right, and I think we're probably heading lower tomorrow. As I shared the consolidation pattern with you, I think we continue to head lower further south, right down to 580, 575, maybe even fill part of that gap. All right, so we'll see what happens. It's Friday. Fridays are freaky. All right, you can sometimes you don't quite hit the target. They like rip it before you get there, and they like to pin it to a certain number because it gives max pain to that area. So Fridays don't work that well for me. Sometimes it's hit or miss. Sometimes I can make a mint on a Friday, and then there's other Fridays where I just don't get the follow through or we don't hit the target. So Fridays are notorious for, if you get profits, take it. All right, that's really it. Don't plan on hitting targets. We'll head off to a target area, and we probably won't hit it, but we'll head off in that direction. And before we get there, I like to take some profits. All right, so that's for tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. And you can see here's our downtrend line. I'll thicken it up just a little bit so you can see it. Okay, so you can see there's our gold downtrend line. Okay, now you can see the channel that I expect the consolidation to happen within. You can see up here, this is 593.50. All right, maybe 595. Doesn't matter to me. All right. Anyways, up in this area. And the lower bar could be 570, anywhere between 580 and probably 570, because we'll probably come down to this peak right there. All right, spike into it and then rip and turn around quickly. So anywhere from there down to here, we'll see what happens. Again, after I think we fill this area through here, and this consolidation area plays out, I really feel like price moves up here, and we just do the same consolidation pattern, but higher ground. That's what I think. And I think we kill some more time up here. Okay, we're waiting for the certainty. Okay, so they're just gonna consolidate and kill time until we get the certainty. That's what I believe. We'll see, but that's just my theory. All right, so let's go back to the SPY chart. Let's get that out of the way. Enough about my theories. Okay. Let's go take a look at, okay, on the 10-minute, what did we see? We said we got a 10-minute uptrend coming into the close, but we're also slamming right into this downtrend line. So we'll see what happens. Again, I think we head further south. We'll see what happens. 10-minute uptrend into the close. 2 hour. On the 2 hour chart, this is hard to read because all that stuff's on there. Okay, on the 2 hour chart, the yellow line is underneath the white 8 EMA. So we have a 2 hour, it's really kind of flat. A 2 hour downtrend coming into the close. It's really flat. I don't know if you can really call it a downtrend, but the yellow line is underneath the 8. Okay, on the 2 hour chart. Let's take a look at the daily candle. Okay, probably an outside day. It is. Higher low, lower high. Okay, excuse me. Higher high, lower low. I had that reversed. Outside day. Higher high, lower low. Closing over a bullish trap on the daily chart. Closing over the 17 EMA right here. Okay, so that's all bullish. Closing over the trap and over the 17. All right, and then let's take a look at it with the quad lines on there. All right, we're up here in quadrant 4, so that's bullish up there. Okay, so we'll just put the quad lines on so you can see it. Let's drag this over. All right, so you can see price action is up in quadrant 4. That's bullish up there. We actually made new highs to the rally in the overnight session. Okay, so that's bullish up there in quadrant 4. Okay, let's pull it all the way over. Okay, so we're up here in quadrant 4. That's bullish. We're excuse me. We're in an uptrend because we got higher lows and higher highs. All right, we're over. This is the all-time high. We're over the all-time high anchored VWAP. All right, that's bullish. We're over the 17, the rising 17. That's bullish. We're closing over the trap, the bullish trap. That's bullish. And we're closing over the 17, and we're in an uptrend, and we're up in quadrant 4. So everything is still bullish, okay? But not to say we don't consolidate in the upper third, all right, while we wait for decisions to be made regarding policy, all right? So there's SPY. All right, let's take a look at QQQ. So you saw my reasons for trading this morning. That was the red erases green. Let's take a look at QQQ. All right, QQQ, okay? I'll bet it's an outside day as well, yes. Okay, that's a higher high and a lower low, closing over a bullish trap, over the 17 EMA, rising 17. See the green dots? Rising 17. Over the uptrend line, see this gold line right there? Okay, that's the uptrend line. All I did was connect that low and that low. It's not that complicated, okay? All I do is connect 2 points together. So I got 2 lows, so I connect them together. That is the uptrend line. Okay, and then here is the all-time high anchored VWAP for QQQ. Looks like the same thing on SPY. But here it is right here. Price action is up over the uptrend line, over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish. Again, that is a new high for this rally that started back in April 1st, right there. Okay, so there's QQQ. In an uptrend, making a higher low and a higher high. So that's in an uptrend and bullish up there in quadrant 4. All right, let's try FNGB. Sorry. Outside day again. All right, I think everybody got an outside day. Higher high, lower low, closing over the trap. Notice the body of that red candle is above the 2 lines right here. Closing over the trap, over the rising 17. That's the green dots. Okay, we're up here in the upper third, so that's bullish. All right, you're in the upper third, so that's bullish. You're over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's the pink line. Again, I just connected these 2 lows to make the uptrend line, and we're above the uptrend line. Okay, so that's bullish, making a higher low. See, here's a low. We made a higher low. Okay, there's a high. We made a higher high. So that's bullish and in an uptrend because it's in the upper third. Okay, of the quad lines. Okay, and you're in the upper third, you're bullish. When you're in the lower third, you're bearish. When you're in the middle, you're just neutral. Okay, so there's FNGB. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. Okay, you can see Diamond Dow did not close in the upper third. Notice. Okay, but it's still in an uptrend. Okay, see the higher low and the higher high. See, there's a high. They made a higher high. Okay, see that they had a high right there that poked through the 17. They made a higher high, so that's an uptrend. They're over the pink line, which is the all-time high anchored VWAP. They're over this downtrend line, barely readable right there. They're over this uptrend line, over the all-time high anchored VWAP. No longer in the upper third, okay? Not quite. Not enough mustard today to hold the upper third. So they're neutral, all right, and in an uptrend. Just neutral and in an uptrend. But the good news is, look, they closed over the trap and over the rising 17. That's bullish. And they're over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, they just didn't qualify for the upper third. That's it. All right, so they're not going to get the pole position in the race. All right, they're just neutral right there. Okay, so it's IWM. All right, IWM making higher lows. Here's a low. Sorry about that. There's a low. There's a higher low. I mean, there's a there's a low, there's a higher high. See the high here? We made a higher high. Okay, see there's a low, we made a higher low. So we made higher lows, and here's a high, we made higher highs. Okay, so that's an uptrend. Okay, but notice we're not in the upper third, which is up here. Okay, this would be the upper third, right up here. Okay, in the quad lines. Okay, this is the midpoint, this is dash line. We're not in the upper third, so we're not bullish. And you know what? We're not in the lower third, okay, because that would make us bearish. We're in the middle ground with the midpoint, the midfield right here. Okay, so we're just neutral. All right, we're over the uptrend line. We're in an uptrend. We're just not strong enough to get bullish yet. Okay, so price action, you can see looking like another outside day. I have to zoom into it because I can't see that well. All right, so let's zoom in here. All right, so see the outside day? That was the high, that was the low. So we made higher highs and lower lows. And we closed, see the body of the candle over the bullish trap. Notice the 3 EMA, the yellow one, is up on top of the white 8 EMA, just barely. All right, so we closed over the bullish trap or bullish cross, either one, and over the 17 EMA. That's these green dots. All right, so that's bullish up there, and we're leaning on the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's the pink line right there, and we're up above the uptrend line. Again, all I did was connect the lows, this low and this low. That's all I did. Okay, so we're above the uptrend line. All right, so it's just neutral because we're not in the upper third, we're not in the lower third. Okay, so just neutral on IWM and Diamond Dow. The other three, QQQ, FNGB, and SPY, are both bullish. They're in the upper third, or they're up in quadrant 4. All right, all three, all three are over their all-time high anchored VWAP. All right, that's what makes them bullish. All right, this is IWM. Again, neutral and in an uptrend. Let's take a look at technicals. T2122, look at this. This is the 29th. Okay, we came out of the buyer's chop zone into the buy zone, and the bears said, not this morning. We don't want to have breakfast with you, and they threw us out. Okay, and then we did a little roundabout, came in through the back door, and they threw us out again. Okay, made a lower low right here in the buyer's chop zone, and then tried to buy our way back into the buy zone right up here. Okay, that's all we had. Okay, so we failed to make any higher highs. See, there's the high for the previous day, or right there. So we're failing to make higher highs. See the lower high? See the lower high? See that high? That's a lower high. That's a lower high. Okay, so, and we're making lower lows. Okay, so we could be on our way to coming back down towards 580, 575, because we're not quite making the higher highs and the higher lows that we're used to making. See, higher low. See the low? Made a higher low. Okay, see the high? Made a higher high. Then a higher low, then another higher high. Then we find ourselves back in the overbought zone, okay? That's not happening here on T2122. So we could see ourselves coming back down in SPY, back down to 580, kind of test it again, make sure it's still going to hold. All right? Keep in mind, we still made higher highs in this rally, okay, especially overnight. Overnight, SPY got up to 598, okay? So nice work on SPY. Let's take a look at T2123. Okay, so we gapped up. That's bullish. Looked like the bears failed to fill the gap. See that? This would be yesterday's close. Is this line? Notice we don't have any candles or bars that strike through it. So that's bullish in the essence that the bears didn't have enough strength. The bears didn't have enough strength to close the gap. All right, so that was That gives the bulls had more strength than the bears. So still bullish environment. Now if we look at this, okay, see the consolidation over prior consolidation, okay? This is yesterday's, this is today's. That's a bullish environment, okay? Moving up, holding the higher ground again, consolidation over prior consolidation, okay? This would be the previous day, okay? Then you look at the day before that, okay? Again, consolidation, see this, up over prior consolidation. Every time this does this, that is a bullish environment. Look for those 10-minute uptrends to work out, okay? Especially in the IWM. As far as the SPY and the QQQ goes, kind of follow the FNGB. Wherever that goes, it's more likely for that to follow that, the FNGB. All right, let's take that out of the way. And you can see we've got some bullish gaps that are not getting filled, showing weakness on the bear's part. See, the bullish gap didn't get filled. This one didn't get filled either. Remember I said we got to come down through that line, and we didn't. Okay, you can see price action. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Okay, is up over. See this rising 200 SMA. That is a bullish environment. We are up over this. See this gold line, this daily downtrend line. Okay, that is a bullish environment. Price action moves up and holding the higher ground up here. That is a bullish environment. Okay, see price moves up. And notice I'm not going to strike through it, but you can see right across the top, for the most part, price goes to the right. All right, we're not getting this. Okay, we're not getting go up, give it up. All right, notice we're going up and we're holding the higher ground. That's bullish. All right, nothing says we can't consolidate while we're up here. All right, so that means up and down, kind of in a flag formation up here. Okay, that's what they're doing. Okay, that is a bullish outlook for T2123. Okay, let's trash all that. Okay, let's go take a look at, and you can see on the 15-minute chart, we're making higher lows. See these lows that poke through the bottom of the 17? We're making higher lows. Here's a low. We made a higher low. Okay, so we're making higher lows and we're making higher highs. See the high here? See the high up there? Another high, and they just keep getting higher and higher. See that? So see the rally? This is the rally from all the way back down here. Okay? Notice today, even today with that red candle, we still made a higher high to the rally. Okay, so it just keeps grinding and melting up. This is really looking good. This is strong. All right, if we just got some certainty, I think we could have ourselves right around 650. All right, just saying, it could happen. All right, if we got some certainty out of this tariff business, we could see 650, definitely 620. All right, so there's T2123. Again, there's that higher low. Okay, all right, and notice here's a high, and we're making higher highs. So that's an uptrend, 15-minute chart, T2123. All right, on the 3-bar chart, this is the high, this is the green candle. Okay, it's green right here because price came up through it. All right, and notice we're making higher highs. There's the high, we made higher high. So the 3-bar chart is in an uptrend. All right, that's good. That's very good. The only thing that's not in an uptrend is the daily chart. Okay, so here's the daily. Now all I did was pin these tops together. See the top and the top, and you can see we're breaking through that daily downtrend right there. Okay, that's that high, and I just string them together. Now if you notice, there's no candles that come through the 17 till we get to right here. So the daily, all right, is still in a downtrend, but look, it's not moving down, it's moving up. All right, they're just not in an uptrend until they take out this high, all right, or they pull back, make a higher low, and then rip back up through and take out the lower high. Okay, so there's on the daily chart. Okay, so disrespecting the downtrend line, that's bullish. Okay, anytime a downtrend line gets disrespected, that is a bullish outlook. Okay, so there's T2123 on the daily chart. Back to the 3-bar chart. Okay, again, disrespecting the downtrend line. That's bullish. Again, price action moving up and over to the right. Again, nice bull flag. We are up over the 200 SMA on the 3-bar chart, and we're in an uptrend. Okay, so that's bullish. Only thing on the daily chart, okay, we're under the 200 SMA as opposed to over it on the 3-bar and on the 15-minute. Okay, so not quite as bullish on the daily, no uptrend, and we're under the 200. So we'll see how far we get. All right, so there's T2123, that's the daily. I'm going to take it back to the 3-bar. You can see right there, price moves up and over to the right. All right, that's bullish. They're holding that higher ground. Okay, anytime price moves up and holds the higher ground, that's bullish. All right, it's very bullish. Okay, when you go up and then you give it up like that, that's bearish. See, notice they go up and they give it up. Okay, that's neutral. All right, when you go up and then you give it up and more, that's bearish. Hence, made a lower low. Okay, so that's bearish. Okay, so right now we're going up and we're holding that higher ground. That's bullish up there. Okay, so that's T2123. All right, let's go take a look at FNGB one more time. All right, here's FNGB. Okay, still got, see the bullish gap up here? Notice the bears still have not filled that bullish gap. All right, notice the 200 SMA. The price action is above it. That's a bullish environment. Okay, if we square off everything inside there, okay, you can see this would be consolidation. Not quite too thick. Okay, this would be consolidation right through here. Okay, and you notice for the most part, we were trying to consolidate, consolidating over prior consolidation. Okay, see all of this price action in the last 27, 28, 29. Last 3 days is over all of this consolidation for the most part. Okay, not exactly all of it over. You got this peaks up and these spin down. All right, but that's a bullish environment. And you're up over the 200 SMA. That's a bullish environment. Okay, anytime you move up and you hold the higher ground, notice move up, hold that higher ground, that's a bullish environment. Again, up, hold that higher ground, that's a bullish environment. Up over this all-time high anchored VWAP, also a bullish environment. Over the 200 SMA, also bullish environment. Over the uptrend line, also bullish environment. So all of the right stuff happening here in FNGB, all right? And this has 10 of the most heavily weighted stocks in the QQQ and the SPY, right? Okay, so these are the ones, when they move as a pack, okay, they're going to jerk those two indexes in the direction that they want to move, okay? If they want to pull back, they will cause a pullback in those two indexes, all right? If they want to move up, they will jerk those up. It doesn't matter, okay, what the other securities are doing, because they will drag them in whatever direction they go. That's how much they're weighted inside those indexes, okay? So this is FNGB. All right, it's only got 10 securities, all right, believe it or not, but it's the 10 most heavily weighted inside QQQ and SPY. Okay, that's why they have that much. This is the powerhouse right here, okay? That's FNGB. All right, so that's enough of that. We just did the technicals. Let's go take a look at a few sectors, okay? First sector we'll look at, let's look at FN and XLE. All right, something's not working. What's going on? That's working. Yeah, I'm here. All right. Everything's working. All right, back down to scratch. Let's take a look at XLE. All right, XLE. All right, there's a big picture of the XLE. About there's like a little over 1 year, probably about 18 months right there. Okay, so notice this is the all-time high. All right, now I take my anchored VWAP and I anchor it on the all-time high. Now, whenever I see price action get up over that all-time high anchored VWAP, that presents itself with a very bullish scenario. Okay, very rarely seen. It doesn't last for long, as you can see. Up over it only lasts for a day or two. Up here only for 5 or 8 hours. See, notice, very difficult to hold price over that all-time high anchored VWAP for extended periods of time. It's not easy. Okay, so whenever that happens, okay, like in the SPY where you get a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP, all right, that's inside of a 2-hour uptrend, that's inside of a daily uptrend, that's inside of a monthly uptrend, and all of that is over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That is a very rare occurrence, all right? That is the one, that's the premium, that's the prime, that's the one I want to trade, is those 10-minute uptrends in all those other uptrends, all right? One inside the other, stacked up nice and neat. I want to play those 10-minute uptrends over VWAP inside those, all right? Because they're all up over the all-time high anchored VWAP, all right? Because there's no telling how high SPY could go, all right? SPY could go to 700. Who knows? Did you ever think we were going to be here at 600? Back when we were looking for, I don't know, 350 or 280, okay? It's possible. XLE. Let's go back to this, okay? That's the bigger picture, okay? Notice the candles down here. We're under downtrend line 1, under downtrend line 2. We're under the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's the pink line right here, okay? If we look at the price action just for today's daily candle, okay, we got a lower high, lower low. We're closing inside a bearish trap because the 3 is under the 8. Okay, and the bearish trap is under the 17 EMA. That's the dots. Okay, notice they go from red, a couple green, more red, some more green, and some more red. So we're under the trap. No, we're in the trap. We're in the bearish trap under the 17. Okay, so it's a bearish outlook. All right, we're in the lower third. All right, so remember this is the quad lines. In the lower third, that's bearish. Okay, you're under downtrend line 1, downtrend line 2, under the midpoint, that's the dash line that separates the top quadrants from the bottom quadrants. All right, and we're under the all-time high anchored VWAP. So this is bearish. We are in an uptrend, but here's the problem. We're not moving up. If you look from this high, we've been doing nothing but melting for the last 2 weeks. Okay, each one of these candles is a day. So you got probably 4 or 5 there, another 5 here, maybe even maybe even more. We're in an uptrend, but we're not moving up. All right, so we're bearish at this time. Okay, if they could continue, they're in an uptrend technically because they keep making higher lows and higher highs. Okay, they're just not moving up right now. So there's XLE. That's bearish, but in an uptrend. Let's take a look at USO. Okay, notice USO has not made any higher highs. So it's in a downtrend. Still in a downtrend because it's failed to make any higher highs. Okay, so there's a low. Well, there's a lower low. So that puts it in a downtrend. Okay, if they come through, take out this high. It's not a very high bar to set. Okay, take out that high right there. They'll have an uptrend. Okay, but look at this in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 days, they failed to take out that high. All right, they are struggling. Okay, they are in the lower third. That's bearish. They are under this 3-year high anchored VWAP. That's a pink line, okay? This is a post-COVID rally right there, okay? Okay, if you notice, we're in the lower third. That's bearish, okay? Still in a downtrend, all right? And we're under the all-time high anchored VWAP. So we're not getting any love from the USO for the XLE. That's the energy sector. Let's take a look at UNG. All right, so UNG got a lower high. Okay, see, here's a high. They got a lower high. Here's a low. See how they're making lower lows? So lower highs and lower lows. All right, there's a low. There's a lower low. Okay, lower highs, lower lows. That's a downtrend. Okay, if they take out this high, they'll have an uptrend. But again, just like the other one in the last 11 days, haven't been able to get it done. Okay, so they're under downtrend line 1. Right here, see this? All I do is pin the tops together. I just connect them. All right, so underneath downtrend line 1, underneath this 3-year high anchored, 12-month high anchored VWAP. Okay, right there. Really low bar set here. Okay, they're underneath that. You can see daily candle, lower high, lower low, closing underneath a bearish trap, underneath a falling or a flat 17 EMA, underneath downtrend line 1, in a downtrend and in the lower third, all right? So that's bearish, all right? And in a downtrend. So no love from UNG, no love from USO, okay? At least not recently, not in the last 11 days. So XLE is struggling, all right? Let's take a look at some precious metals. Here's GLD. All right, got a higher low and a higher high, obvious right there. Closing, see the yellow lines up over the white ones. That's a bullish trap. All right, so closing over the bullish trap, over the flat 17, over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, but get this, made lower high and a lower low. See, here's a low. They made made a lower low. All right, so that's a downtrend. But they're over the all-time high anchored VWAP, and they're up in quadrant 4, so that's bullish. Again, it's just a label. And you can see as I connect these two lows together, they're up over the uptrend line. So they're in a downtrend, but currently just consolidating up here in quadrant 4 right now. Okay, that's bullish up there, quadrant 4, bullish. See, price moves up, and they're holding the higher ground. Okay, we got the sticks back out here. Let's get the sticks. Okay, sticks go up, and we're holding this higher ground up there. Okay, so that's bullish right there. All right, let's go take a look at SLV. So here's another precious metal. All right, we got a higher low and a higher high. We're closing over, zoom in here, over a bullish trap. See the 3? EMA is on top of the 8, okay, closing over the bullish trap, closing over this 17 EMA, that's the green dots, closing over the downtrend line, okay, we're closing up here in quadrant 4, zoom out, you can see it, see that's quadrant 4, so that's bullish up there, okay, notice price moves up, all right, notice price moves up and holds the higher ground. That is a bullish environment. That is a bullish outlook. All right? Take that off. Zoom back in. Okay, we're up over. This is a 6-month high anchored VWAP as well as a 12-year high anchored VWAP. Right there. Okay, so we are up over the 12-year high. That's bullish. All right? There's a high right there. We made a higher high. So we were in a downtrend, but since we took out that lower high with this high, we're in an uptrend. So we're in an uptrend, we're up in quadrant 4, and we're bullish. All right, that's silver. Okay, not quite as healthy as GLD, which has been up there and moving. All of GLD is up there in quadrant 4. Just part of SLV is up here. But I like this little look right here. See how they're up and they're moving over to the right. See how they're moving up and over to the right. So that's looking good, all right? See that? holding that higher ground. Okay, again, as opposed to moving up and giving it up, right? See, move up, give it up. That's just neutral, right? When you go up and you hold that higher ground, that's bullish. Hence, we're in the upper third. Okay, let's go take a look at. I'm still recovering. All right, so let's go take a look at SMH. All right, this is semiconductors. Okay, semiconductors. Did they make the upper third? I'm going to give it to them today. All right. Higher low, higher high, closing over. Let me zoom in here. Bullish trap over the rising 17. Okay, in the upper third, that's bullish. All right, in the upper third, that's bullish up there. Okay, making higher lows and higher highs. That's an uptrend. Okay, moving up and holding the higher ground. Okay, see the look at the candles. Okay, just don't look at one candle. Look at them as a group. All right, this is where you can validate your bias. Price moves up and holds the higher ground as a group. The more candles you have in your group, the more valid your pattern is. Okay, you got two candles, that's a weak pattern. You've got a pattern with 30, 40 candles in it, hence you got a month and a half. All right, that's going to be a stronger pattern. Okay, the more candles in your pattern, the stronger it is. Okay, so price move high, low, higher, high. That's an uptrend. Okay, price action up over the trap, over the 17. That's bullish. Up here in the upper third, that's bullish. Just barely made it over the uptrend line, the downtrend line. Okay, zoom out. We'll see right here. See this? All I did was connect the tops. That's it. Nothing special. Okay, up over the downtrend line. Okay, that's bullish. Up over all-time high anchored VWAP right there. Okay, that's bullish. Again, very rare event to have price up over this all-time high anchored VWAP. It will spend less time over the all-time high anchored VWAP than it will spend more time under it than it will over it. It's always the case. Okay, so there's SMH. All right, let's take a look at XLF. All right, this is the big brother to the SMH. XLK. Okay, a little meaner, a little leaner, a little stronger XLK. Okay, notice how SMH is down here in quadrant 3, XLK up here in quadrant 4. Okay, so over the uptrend line, that's bullish. Okay, moving down and giving it up. Okay, that's neutral, but giving it up and more, that's bullish. Up here in the upper third, that's bullish. Okay, closing up over the trap, over the 17, that's bullish. All right, up over the uptrend line, up over the all-time high anchored VWAP, and up over the midpoint. Okay, so making higher lows and higher highs. That is a bullish environment right there. Okay, so that's XLK. Let's take a look at XLF. Okay, got sorry. Lower high, lower low, closing. Notice the body of the candle over the bullish cross, over the rising 17. That's those green dots. Up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish. Up over the pink line, that is the all-time high anchored VWAP, making a higher low and higher highs. It's uptrend bullish. Okay, up here in quadrant 4, over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Last one, IYT. Okay, making higher lows. All right, higher lows, higher highs. See the high poking through the 17? We made a higher high, so that's an uptrend. Okay, price action for today's candle. Lower high, lower low, closing under a bearish trap. But over, see the green dots? The rising 17. Over the uptrend line. Okay, under pink line, all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, so we have an uptrend. but it's not a very strong uptrend because we're not up here in bullish territory. All right, we're just here in neutral. Notice if we were up here in the upper third, that would be bullish. We were there at one time, but then we lost it. Okay, we're not down here in the lower third, so we're not bearish. So we're just neutral at this time. Needs some more time to cook, all right, or ferment. It's not ready yet. Okay, so there's the transports, just neutral, but in an uptrend. Okay, currently knocking on the door of the all-time high anchored VWAP. See, notice the all-time high anchored VWAP. More time is spent underneath it than there is above it. See the double top up here? Okay, see the top up here? Okay, that's why I say it's a very rare event when you have price over an all-time high anchored VWAP. That means those 10-minute uptrends over VWAP are going to go stronger and longer and be more dependable and more reliant. All right, when you're up over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, think about it. It just makes sense. All right, because we're making new highs. All right, most of the time we're either heading off to challenge a recent all-time high or maybe a past all-time high. Okay, or we're heading off to make new all-time highs if we're up over that all-time high anchored VWAP. So those 10-minute uptrends will last a little longer. They'll be a little stronger, okay? Look for those to work out more often than the downtrends, all right? So there's IYT on the transports. That's it for me for today. Thank you, Jim. Thank you. All right, that's it for me for today. Everybody have a beautiful evening. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for going through this. It's a little long and winded, all right, 50 minutes. That's kind of like more time than I've ever spent on an evening, but it's a lot of information. It's all review for a lot of you guys, but it's good information, all right? In case you don't have me around, you can understand the markets, all right, without me being there. You see what I look at, and I'm sharing with you what I'm observing, all right? Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Brent. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Jim. Thank you, everybody, okay? Everybody have a beautiful evening. I'll see you all tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Tomorrow's Friday. Friday's not one of my best days. Some days I make a mint. Some days I barely hang on. All right? We'll see you all tomorrow. Everybody have a great night.